Hey, everybody, welcome to Game Time. I'm your humble host, the Fantasy Typhoon, a.k.a. The Mentalist, a.k.a. your favorite analyst. And it starts at Sundays, doubled as Who Do I Bench? And I have two, not one, but two special guests from the world famous football guys. I have Mr. Jeff Haseley. He's in the green room. I have Dan Hindery. He's in the green room as well. So as you guys fire up your questions and your comments, bring them in. We're here to answer your questions. So bring them in. Let's get going. Also, phone lines are open. I know we're not used to that yet, but phone lines are open just in case. 407-809-8330.
It's about to go down in a minute. Let me touch down. I'ma get it. Cause I've been waiting all night. It's game time.
Yes, everybody. Once again, it's the Fantasy Typhoon. Thank you for watching Game Time. If you're watching on YouTube, bing, hit that subscribe button. Bing, hit that notification button so you know every time we go live. If you're watching on Periscope, hit that bing, hit that subscribe button. And let me bring in my good friends, Jeff Haseley from the world famous Football Guys and Dan Hindery of the world famous Football Guys. What's up, fellas?
Hey there. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Y'all ready to rock and roll and get this thing going?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Let's go with some folks that's out. Sony Michel has been activated from IR, but he is out. It's a Damien Harris day. DeAndre Swift is out. Larry Tunsil, left tackle, who guards Deshaun Watson blindside. He is out. Here's one I want to talk about right quick, guys. Teddy Bridgewater is out. PJ Walker is the starting quarterback for this Sunday. Does that have a ripple effect?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, he's not going to be the passer, I think, that Bridgewater is and was. Of course, Bridgewater, very efficient, 70% completion percentage. But PJ Walker kind of adds a little bit of mobility to him. And, of course, he and Robbie Anderson with the ties to Temple, so they know each other well. I think we'll see him throw it to Anderson quite often. But honestly, I think this is a big Mike Davis game. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think it maybe lowers the floor a little bit on some of these guys. But if you have Mike Davis, you're still playing him. I think he's still a low-end running back one. And I do think the connection there, the Temple connection, probably helps Robbie Anderson a little bit. I think it probably hurts DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel just a little bit. Those guys are kind of fringe. So if it's a coin flip and you have another strong wide receiver 3 option, especially with Curtis Samuel, I think maybe Bridgewater being out is a tiebreaker against those guys as your wide receiver 3. So I think it lowers the floor a little bit for some of these guys just because Walker's a little bit of an unknown. So it makes Moore and Samuel a little bit more speculative as plays. But I do, like you said, I think you've got to feel really good about Mike Davis still.
It's a Mike Davis day. Fire him up. But what do you think about Ian Thomas? Any bump on Ian Thomas, or he's just overlooked?
I mean, he might get, if we're lucky, he might get 2 catches. You know,
2 catches for 20
really
yards.
Their tight end too often, and he's not really a part of their offensive game plan as far as fantasy production. So I would tend to shy away from him.
All right, we got a question in, guys. Let's get rocking and rolling. Zen22, what's up, Zen? Duke Johnson, Salvin. Is that Ahmed or Ahmed? I hear it Ahmed when I'm watching on Red Zone. So it is what it is. Duke Johnson. Here goes Duke Johnson again. Jeff.
Yeah, and Johnson kind of hurt us a little bit last week. He didn't have any catches after having 9 the previous 2 games. The Patriots, if you're going to get them, it seems like it's their run defense that is vulnerable. But, I don't know if we can trust anything on Houston right now. Granted, last week was that tough game in Cleveland with the weather, but they scored, 7 points in that game? So, it's just something you have to decide on. If you like Houston, then maybe you take Duke Johnson here. But I'm kind of leaning with Salvin Ahmed, thinking that he might be able to, see a good amount of carries, even though Matt Breida is coming back. It was Ahmed who had 100 yards last week.
Yeah, you want to touch?
I'm actually going to lean a little bit towards Duke Johnson, and it is a little bit of a leap of faith. I think if you're playing Duke Johnson, part of it is on the belief that you just kind of throw that Cleveland game out. It was 40-mile-an-hour winds and rainy, and it just seemed like everyone knew that it was just going to be kind of a run up the middle or like a 4-yard pass. So everything was within 20 yards of the line of scrimmage. So I guess it's not too surprising that the offense really struggled there. The nice thing, Duke Johnson handled pretty much every carry and rarely left the field. So that I think is a real positive in his favor, where, Ahmed was kind of the same way last week, but now you throw Breida into the mix, and I think it makes it a little bit less clear in terms of, is that going to be 50-50? Is it going to be 70-30 in favor of Ahmed? Whereas at least Duke Johnson, he's going to be on the field the whole time. So I would lean Duke Johnson there a little bit. I don't feel great about either one of those guys, but
right?
Unless you have better options, it's not a real deep running back week. So, I think both those guys are running back twos. I prefer Johnson just a little bit over Ahmed.
If I'm looking for the floor, I would say Johnson is the floor in this one. I would say Salvon Ahmed would be the guy that would have the upside. So if you're more conservative and you kind of want the floor, you guarantee points, I would go Duke. But like Dan was saying, I kind of piggyback that on that. Neither one of these guys I really have confidence in, but if you put a gun to my head, I would have to go Salvin Ahmed. Duke Johnson, like I was saying earlier, Larry Tunson is out also. Offensive line is horrible. And it's not a Duke Johnson thing. It's not Duke Johnson can't play. In my opinion, it's more of the offensive line, things that are around him. Why he can't really succeed or, become that RB1 that we all really want him to do. I think it's more of his comrades or his team. But I would fire up Ahmed. So I guess that's 2-1. You might have been overruled on that one, Dan. I kind of like 3. So one of us can get overruled. You know what I mean? I kind of like that. So Zen, floor Duke Johnson, ceiling Ahmed. We got another one here, guys. DJ Moore, Nyheim Hines, Burkhead. Dan, how about you take this one first, my man?
Okay, so Nyheim Hines is one of my favorite plays this week. I think he's going overlooked. It seems like the way that you attack Green Bay is to get after those linebackers. And I think that Indianapolis comes out in a run-heavy game plan. I think that they target Hines a bunch out of the backfield. And it just seems to me like Jonathan Taylor's kind of fallen out of favor, that Hines really provided a spark to that offense last week. So for me, Nyheim Hines is one of those guys who, if you play DFS, I'm playing DFS. He's one of those guys who I'm putting in all my lineups this week. I'm buying in on Nyheim Hines. For me, he's a top 10 running back this week, which I know he's not ranked up there, but he's the guy who I feel pretty strongly about, especially in PPR.
He's got the Packers, man. What you say about that one, Jeff?
Well, to me, this is between DJ Moore and Nyheim Hines. And like Dan said, the Colts saw something in him last week. His shiftiness, his speed, his ability to get to the outside. And at 197 pounds, he's pretty big for some guy who's 5'9". He's able to go through the tackles okay, and we kind of saw that as well. And we already know that he's a good receiver. So I think that, I think the Colts are going to lean on him once again. And like Dan said, Jonathan Taylor is kind of leaning a little bit more out of favor. And so I kind of lean Hines. Now, the argument here is DJ Moore, and you've got PJ Walker now at quarterback, so we have a little bit of an unknown there. But Detroit has actually been pretty decent against wide receivers in terms of fantasy production against. In fact, they haven't allowed a touchdown to a wide receiver since week 7, and now we're heading into week 11. So, I mean, that's something to be concerned about. And there's a little bit of uncertainty, balls in the air, in terms of who Carolina is going to target in this game. And like we already said, we think it's going to be a heavy running game with Mike Davis. So I would say go with Hines there as well. And we also know that DJ Moore has just in times just not showed up for these games, or not really showed up, but his production hasn't been what we would like it to be. And I would hate for him to have another game like that, and then Hines goes off, with 6 catches and 75 yards total offense and maybe a touchdown. So I would lean Hines, and I think that's probably against the majority. I think a lot of people would say DJ Moore here, but we've made some good comments on Hines, and I kind of lean with that.
Yeah, I think I have to go ahead and make this unanimous. I'll take Hines as well. I mean, Hines is hot right now. He looks good out there. He's running in between the tackles. Of course, we know Phillip Rivers is Mr. Checkdown, and he's also getting red zone touches. He's scoring touchdowns and doing flips and cartwheels and all that when he gets in the end zone. So, I think that's a unanimous decision there, my friend. Go ahead and fire up Nyheim Hines. I guess this one is on me to take first. DJ Moore with Walker at QB, or Mike Evans with Rams defense. Whoa. Man, 2 first-round picks in the NFL draft. So I guess I would take Evans. I just don't know what PJ Walker is going to give me. Although I like PJ Walker, he looked good when USFL, CFL, or whatever, XFL, whatever he was in. He looked good. Like you said, Jeff, he's a mobile guy. Had a little Lamar Jackson-ness to him, a little lemon juice, Lamar Jackson on it. But I have to go Evans. What you guys think?
I don't really like Evans this week. The Rams have allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers over the last 4 weeks. And that's something to take note of. 1 touchdown since week 6 to wide receivers. They kind of shut down Tyler Lockett last week and Metcalf. Devontae Parker didn't do much of anything against him the week prior, or actually 2 weeks prior, because there was a bye week involved there. But I'm a little bit concerned about Evans, and I'm concerned about Moore. So I don't like really either of these plays. I guess if I had to pick, I guess you go with Evans just because he's got that ability to score. I mean, he may not do much during the game, but he still could get a red zone touchdown. And we know that Tom Brady leans that direction, once they're inside the 5-10 yard line. So I probably would go with Evans, but I don't really like either of them.
Yeah, this one's kind of a coin flip for me. I have these guys both projected 10.1 points. I have them 36 and 37, my wide receiver rankings. I think the problem for Evans is he's probably going to get shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. And we've seen him we've seen him take out some really good wide receivers. So I would say on this one, I think DJ Moore is a little bit safer. I do think Evans has a little bit more upside just because they'll throw it up to him in the red zone no matter who's covering him. But I think in terms of like who could give you 4 or 5 points, I think Evans is one of those guys where his floor is really low in this matchup, especially considering how many targets that Brady has now. Godwin's back. They have Antonio Brown. They have Gronk. They have the running back. So I think he's a really boom bust guy. Whereas I think DJ Moore, I don't see a scenario where DJ Moore, goes off and has a huge week, but I think he's a guarantee for 3-4 catches, at least 50, 60 yards. So this is one of those where, I think if you really need the upside, then maybe you play Evans. Otherwise, I'd go with DJ Moore.
Yeah, you know what? You got me, man. That's very astute analysis there with Jalen Ramsey. Forgot all about Jalen Ramsey, but how could I forget him? He put the so-called blanket over DK Metcalf. But when you watch the film, you might disagree. That was more Russell Wilson not throwing it as opposed to him shutting him down. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. But I might have to go back and change mine. I might have to go with DJ Moore too. Great analyst, Dan. Great analyst. Great. So Jim Poppy, I guess DJ Moore. It's 2-1 DJ Moore. You've been overruled, Jeff.
Hey, that's why we're here.
I had to switch. Once I heard him say Jalen Ramsey, ding, 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 it went off in my head. Just made so much sense. All right, folks, we got about 10 more minutes here before we have to go set our own lineup. So go ahead and get your questions in, please. Guess is back on you, Jeff. Nick Grievous. Do we know if Gilmore will be shadowing Fuller? I'm considering benching him for Chark. Luton is that quarterback. Luton.
Yeah, right. I'm not sure though if Gilmore's going to follow Will Fuller around.
He's not.
Dan, do you have any knowledge there?
He's not.
I would say no, but I guess like Gilmore last year was just like you avoided him at all costs. He's just been all right this year, so he wouldn't scare me off even if I did think he was going to follow him around. So I would lean Fuller in this one.
Yeah, I would probably play Fuller over Shark because we don't really know what Jake Luton is. What's his name? Luton is going to do. Too much against Pittsburgh. So I would probably go with Will Fuller as well there. And hey, we missed the one about Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, I got it.
I like McLaurin here. We already talked about Evans being kind of an issue, but McLaurin, I love McLaurin against Cincinnati. Granted, William Jackson's been a really good corner for the Bengals. The Bengals have allowed 14 touchdowns to wide receivers this year, including 11 after week 4. So they're in the last 4 weeks, they have allowed the third most fantasy points to wide receivers. Another reason to target Terry McLaurin and Alex Smith with back-to-back 300-yard games. Anyway,
yeah, I agree. I think McLaurin's a top 5 wide receiver this week. So play him with confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a unanimous decision. Bang. Let's rock and roll with him. Remember, folks, we're just here for a brief second. We're in and out. Get your questions in. Get them answered. Coach Fetty 3. I guess we'll let you take this one, Dan. QB, Watson, Cam, or Burrow. Oh, that's nice little QBs there. Which one you taking, Dan?
That is a tough one. I guess I'd go, Watson, Cam, Burrow. I guess I'd go Watson, but that's a tough one.
Against New England, right?
Yeah, it's against New England. I don't know how scared we should be of New England's defense this year. And just Watson has, and you do have Tunsil out. That's a tough one, but I guess you can kind of poke a hole in any of these guys because with Cam Newton, the way you beat Houston is running the ball. So I'm not sure he puts up big passing numbers. He probably does get in for a short rushing touchdown.
Yes.
With Burrow, you got to worry about the offensive line against Chase Young and those guys. You have the same concern, I guess, with Deshaun Watson too, with Laramie Tunsil out. So, but I'm going to go Deshaun Watson here. We just have such a long track record of him coming through. You get the rushing upside. I also think they're going to be a little bit pass heavy just because with Duke Johnson, you're not going to turn around and hand it off to him 20, 25 times. So I think you're going to have Watson get 8 or 10 carries. So I would go Watson just barely, and then I'd have Burrow just a little bit over Cam.
I kind of lean that direction as well. Watson barely over Burrow. Cam, you don't know what's going to happen there. He's been a little bit suspect with interceptions. You got to hope that he scores at least once, maybe twice. If he scores twice, I think he might be the better play, but we don't know that. Washington's actually been very good against wide receivers as well as quarterbacks, only allowing 4 touchdown passes to quarterbacks since week 6. So that's pretty impressive right there. They're third. Or they've allowed the third fewest points to quarterbacks over the last 4 weeks. So a little bit of concern there for Burrow as well as Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins too. We haven't really talked about them, but yeah, I guess you kind of have to go with Watson here, but I don't really love the matchup.
I think I'll have to surprise you guys. I think I have to go Burrow. That NFL LSU offense, I know he's dropping back to throw the ball. That's one thing I do know. Mm-hmm. As far as that's concerned, all I want is the guy that I know, kind of like what you said, Dan, on when you picked Duke Johnson. It was the usage. I know Burrow's arm will be active. Well, Joe Mixon's down. He's been down for a while, so that shouldn't really change too much. But what you got? Tyler Boyd, Higgins, uh, the ghost of AJ Green. Auden Tate. Every now and then. Yeah, I like what Burrow has as far as his weapons. I think that will be unleashed. Burrow, I'm looking for 300 and at least 3 tubs from Burrow today. So I would go Burrow. So man, I hope that answered your question. Looks like I've been overruled anyway, so it looks like the panel has spoke Watson. So Coach Fetty 3, I guess Watson will be your play. I've been overruled. Let's see. Here we go again. Duke Johnson again. This is an easy one. I guess that's coming to me this time. I guess I'll just say Damien Harris. And let's keep moving. But Damien Harris is going up against the porous Houston Texans defense. And I know the numbers show Houston's defense is, subpar. I like to know why. The numbers tell you what's happening. I like to know why it's happening. So I went back and kind of been reviewing that defense of the Texans, and it's the linebackers. It's Cunningham, Zach Cunningham. He's not shedding tackles. He's getting caught up in the melee, and he can't get straight to the tackle. That's why running game is so subpar there. It's basically because of those linebackers. I think it's Adams, Tyrell, some guy, another. I can't think of his name right now. His name escaped me. But Cunningham and that weak side linebacker are doing no favors as far as stopping the run. I would go Damien Harris. Fire him up. What you guys think?
Do we know what format here? Is this PPR or standard?
No.
Okay, so I guess
go ahead and give us the both. Give us
yeah, I'll hedge just a little bit. For me, it's Duke Johnson and PPR because Damien Harris is kind of in that Sony Michel role where he's going to get his 16, 18 carries, but they're not throwing him the ball at all. That's going to be Burkhead. That's going to be James White. Whereas even though Duke Johnson didn't get a ton of targets last week, I feel confident he's going to get 4 or 5 targets this week. So I think that makes it easier for him to get there in PPR. In standard, I guess I would probably lean Damien Harris just because I think he has a better chance of scoring a touchdown. I think he's going to get you 15 to 20 carries, probably 80, 90 yards. So I think he's a fine play in standard. In PPR, he's really touchdown dependent because he's not going to give you anything through the air. So you're going to get that 8 or 9 points, those 8 or 9 rushing yard points, and then it's, does he get you to 15 plus with a touchdown or not? Because if not, he's probably going to get you single digits there. Whereas I think Duke Johnson, you're going to get 3 catches for 30 yards, and that's already that 6 points in PPR where he doesn't need to do a whole lot of rushing. So I'm going to kind of split ticket here, Harris in standard and Johnson in PPR.
All right, Jeff, you got to decide and vote.
Well, I mean, Houston is the team that you want to play everyone against, right? Especially running backs. They've given up 600-yard rushers this year. 11 touchdowns to running backs for rushing touchdowns. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just went off on them last week. Derrick Henry had a 200-yard game. Delvin Cook had a big game against them. James Conner had a big game against them. But Dan makes some good points. The fact that Harris isn't going to get a lot of catches, if any. And if he gets down to the 1 or 2 yard line, he may not be getting that ball. That might be Cam Newton's ball. I mean, that's a concern there. So you got to hope that he gets the rushing yardage, which we've seen that Houston allows. And if he's going to score, hopefully he scores off of like a 25-yard run rather than getting inside the 5 yard line, because that's where it's mostly Cam territory. So that's tight. I mean, in my opinion, I think it's Damien Harris. He had 100 yards rushing last week. He's getting the carries. Sony Michel is inactive. He seems like they're really kind of leaning on him. I can see him get 20 carries in this game. And if he does that, he's going to most likely have 100 yards, maybe a touchdown. I would kind of lean him as opposed to Duke Johnson. So that I guess I'm the deciding factor there, but that's my call.
Right. I agree too. Especially if you in those leagues that you awarded some kind of bonus points. If your player goes above 100 yards, I
Mm.
I see at least 120 yards on the ground minimum and a tub minimum for Damien Harris today. This is the day. This is his day. You know, that Patriots backfield has always been so mungled up. We don't know what Bellatrix is doing. But today, I think today, the sun is shining on the backfield. Damien Harris, today, finally, we can play somebody from the New England backfield with confidence, in my opinion. Fire him up. But let's see. All right, I got one for you guys. We'll be here for a little bit more, guys. If you got any questions, bring them on in. But I got one. I need help with my starting lineup now. In my flex, PPR, Kalen Ballage. I know. Kalen Ballage. I know. Kalen Ballage or Will Fuller in the flex.
Oh,
is that a no-brainer, or am I overthinking this thing?
I think you might be overthinking that. I don't know if I would go with Bellagio there. You got to think that Fuller, if he's healthy, if he's playing well, he and Watson have a really good chemistry as far as getting behind the defense. I think we could see an option there in terms of a touchdown. So I'm leaning Fuller just to kind of keep it shorter.
Just for the record, Dan, before you start, please. I do have Fuller in right now. I'm just contemplating because I know the floor of Ballage is real. You know, I don't want to come out with Fuller, 4 catches for 30 yards. But now, Dan, please, sir.
Yeah, I actually like both guys this week. I do think, like you said, Ballage, I think he's guaranteed 15, 18 touches. So
yeah, I love that floor.
He does have the better floor, but Fuller scored a touchdown. I think it's 6 of the last 7 games. So I think he has more upside. And I think I would go Fuller just because I think he has a decent enough floor too. Like I don't see a scenario where he doesn't get 4 or 5 catches. So in PPR, I think he has at least a decent 10, 12 point floor. But yeah, I actually like both guys this week. I think Fuller's a top 15 wide receiver. And I actually have Ballage as a top 15 running back. So I think they're actually both pretty good plays.
Yeah, I had that revenge game in my mind. You know how that is. We tend to lean to those outside circumstances that have nothing to do with it, but we always insert it into the situation. But all right, I guess we'll shut it down, folks. Unless you guys have any final thoughts.
Nope.
No, not
Any
really.
final thoughts?
Not particularly. I'm looking at the Jets and running backs against them. They have only allowed 1 rushing touchdown to a running back since week 5.
Since week 5?
Since week 5, yeah. So just it happened last week. It was Rex Burkhead, but
it'll happen again this week.
it could. Or not last week. Sorry, week 9 because the Jets were on bye last week, so not last week per se. Their last game.
Ballage is getting a touchdown in this one, in my opinion. I feel our feeling in our guts don't mean too much, but
we'll see.
We'll see. All right, we had another one sneak in. Zen 22. I can't forget Zen. We'll take it up before we roll out. Here goes another Fuller. Boy, it's a lot of Fuller, Duke Johnson's. A lot of doubt in that Texans offense today. Mike Davis, Fuller, PPR, whichever one of you guys want to jump on that first. Is this a no-brainer?
Maybe a no-brainer, but I think it's Davis. He just has such a good floor in terms of touches, and he's going to get 4 or 5 catches too. Like I don't think there's a huge, in terms of projecting receptions, he's probably right there with Fuller. So yeah, I would go Mike Davis.
Yeah, and the Lions have allowed 8 rushing touchdowns to running backs since week 7 in the last 4 games because there was a bye in there for him. And Mike Davis, I get it. He hasn't really shown that well since earlier on in the year when he first started taking over for Christian McCaffrey. But I think they lean on him a lot. And I think he also, like Dan said, gets some catches too as well. So Detroit is the number 1 in terms of allowing the most fantasy points to running backs over the last 4 games. So it looks like this is a Davis play, in my opinion.
Absolutely, it's a Davis play. When you said Lions, and I looked up, I saw it. Yeah, the Lions. Yeah, you got to run, Mike. But is Mike Davis' battery starting to wear out a little bit?
I mean,
He came out fully charged, and it just seems like he's starting to show you why he's a backup.
When he's playing and he gets the ball, he's always looking for more yards after contact, so he's good in that regard. He's been fairly – actually, I don't think he's fumbled at all. His ball security shouldn't really be an issue with him. He's been reliable in that sense. He's going to be a quick possibility for a hot read for P.J. Walker today. I just think that this is his day. I think the Panthers kind of – if they can control the offense, control the game, I think they run the ball an awful lot.
Okay. Now, folks, you got to realize who just said that. This is Mr. Carolina fandom. So he knows it's Carolina Panthers. So if anybody says Mike Davis is going to do better than Fuller, then is Mr. Carolina fandom right there. Make sure you check his show out on YouTube as well, Carolina fandom. But if Jeff says it, then I'm out. Mike Davis, I bow down. I'm bowing down to Mr. Carolina right there.
We'll see. He's got to perform first. No accolades yet.
If Jeff says it, then hey, who am I to dispute Jeff? You know what I mean? When it comes to Carolina football, it just hit me. I got Mr. Carolina fandom sitting there. But all right, folks, if you got any more questions, get them in right quick. We'll stick around probably for another 2 or 3 minutes if your question comes in. It's about 12:39 Eastern Standard Time, so we're quickly approaching that 1 o'clock hour where those lineups set, and it is what it is.
You ever try to make a change like right at 1 o'clock, right at 12:59, and you go to put it in? It's like, nope, can't do it. So you're like, oh well, I guess I'm not making that change.
You know what? You know how you know when you're able to make that change or not?
Why?
All right, before the game starts, when you see that NFL logo come on, it says, like this is an NFL game. This is even before kickoff. Once you see that, it's like a universal signal that your roster's a lock. Once you see that, you can't change your roster after that. That's my little signal. If I can beat that little it's on CBS or whatever, Fox or NBC, ESPN, they all do that little they all do that little NFL where the logo shows up. And if you don't get it in before the logo, it's over.
Yeah, it was probably a bad decision anyway. So probably just as well.
Yeah, it's over if you don't get in before then. All right, well, look, guys, thank you for your time. Dan, Hindery, man, you've been a breath of fresh air here, my friend. Really appreciate your top-notch knowledge, my man.
Thanks for having me. It's a good time.
Couldn't expect nothing less from football guys, all right?
That's right.
World famous football guys. And we got Mr. Carolina fandom there, my good friend Jeff. We go way back. And thank you, Jeff, for your outstanding input as well. All right, folks, this has been another episode of Game Time Sunday. Start, sit. Who do I bench? Good luck on your leagues today, and we're out of here.